Do you ever have those days where everything just seems to not be going right? That's basically my day. I've been trying to figure out how to record this video for the last day and a half. So I'm just going to try something a little different. I'm going to just have a little conversation. And the topic I was thinking about the other day that I thought would be good to hit is the problem with letting go of your narcissist. And you get caught up in this situation where everyone likes to tell you, you just need to let go. You need to just take the high road. You need to be the better person. Yeah, that's real easy to say. That's awesome. That's just great. I'm happy for everyone who can say that. The reality is that this is a hell of a lot more complicated than just a couple little words strung together to try to make a point. Now, there is some truth in those words. There is some validity in what is being said. And do we need to let go? Absolutely. The problem is, as anybody who's gone through this knows, or if you're actually in the midst of this, it's a hell of a lot harder than just letting go. You really have to wrap your head around everything that has happened. You have to wrap your head around the amount of pain that you've been through. And the reality of it is every time you turn around, there's something else that's reminding you of what's happened. It can be the loss of time with your kids. Maybe there's no time with your kids. The way you thought things were before are completely gone. And everything you worked for has been eroded, destroyed, diminished. And it's just this constant freaking reminder of the situation that you're in. And other people don't necessarily help, because people who haven't been through this, they just don't get it. It'd be nice if they did. It would be outstanding if everyone on the planet knew about this stuff, understood your struggle, could really connect with you in a real, genuine way to help you through this, to help you understand what you're going through, to help you understand that it's not going to last forever. I remember, people saying, well, it sucks and it's going to get worse, but it gets better. Well, how the hell, it's like, what? How does that even make sense? Right? Because there's no context to it. There's no context to how you go from point A to get to point B. It is really, really complicated. Now, for me, that was pretty much it. I mean, I was stuck just in the middle of this. The pain of this consumed my every waking moment. It's like, the only time I got a little bit of a reprieve, so to speak, was when I was asleep. Thank God, right? I mean, some people, they go to sleep and they have nightmares. At least I wasn't having that. I was having nightmares before the divorce. I pretty much wasn't dreaming much, or wasn't recognizing any of those dreams shortly after all this. But the thing is like, okay, so, all right, how do you start to move on, right? How do you start to get to the point that you can turn around and start taking your life back? And the thing is that, the reality is you really can only hold on to this pain for so long. Now, the other reality of this is it can really be a long time. I've seen people get stuck in this mode for decades. My own father is a prime example of that. And rightfully so, right? I mean, you've been so wronged. I mean, everything that you've worked for has been just turned upside down. So it's real easy to stay angry and bitter. Now, the problem, well, not necessarily a problem. The issue for me is I knew I didn't want to do that. I knew I didn't want to be rolling into, my 60s, still in this mode, still angry, still bitter, still, wanting to talk to okay. Let's just ignore the fact that this is a channel. But, what I mean is ignore or not ignore the fact, but I didn't want to be in a situation where everyone I run into, I'm like, let me tell you how bad my life is. Did I tell you what happened? I know I haven't seen you in a month, but let me tell you exactly what happened 15, 20 years ago. Or even being in the situation where you're in this mode to where you're constantly referring back. Well, I would have that big house on the hill, but not for the ex, that type of thing. I mean, it doesn't do anything good for you. And I knew early on that I wanted this pain to stop, and I wanted her out of my head. I didn't want this to be an ongoing thing that just continued day in and day out. Now, the reality is that that day in and day out for me lasted, God dang, like a few years, like almost 4 years. 4 years where I was just constantly battling with this. Yeah, there were some sprinkles of some good times and all of that, but it was this constant reminder of the situation, and it wasn't healthy. I mean, it was not a good place to be, and not a place I want you guys to stay. I want you to be able to get your life back. So I want you to, have that increased control of your own life and that diminishing control for them. So the question is you could be looking at this going, okay, so how do I get out of this? How do I try to start moving forward? And I mean, the reality of it is you really need to confront this head on. You really need to not hide from it, and make a concerted effort to really deal with this. I mean, you have to accept the reality of what happened. You have to realize that they are not, nor will they ever be, who we thought they were. And they're not going to change. One thing I've seen consistently through my own experience, through coaching people, through mentoring people, even in real life, is they don't change. They stay in that mode. It's like they're trapped. No, it's not like they are trapped. They are trapped in that mindset, that emotional age. And the reality is they just don't have the capability to move forward. So if you don't accept that, if you struggle with that, if you're constantly wondering or reprocessing or trying to make excuses or not confront the basic reality of it, you're going to trap yourself to them. You're going to trap yourself in that crazy dance that just doesn't ever end. So for me, and I know I've chatted about this before, but for me, my process revolved around an excellent therapist. And I know people have different opinions of therapists, and to be perfectly honest, prior to all of this, I was not a fan of therapists. Not my go-to option to deal with anything. But, I found an excellent therapist. She's the one who actually even introduced me to the idea of personality disorders and the potential that I could be dealing with an undiagnosed NPD. But even with that for me, that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough to get me over the hump. I was still stuck. I was still holding on. I was still just trapped in this mode of ruminating about the past, being really angry, and not able to move on. So I actually asked my therapist to give me homework. What else can I work? Because this let's meet every couple of weeks and have a hour session wasn't cutting it for me. Especially just as a caveat. I mean, one thing you need to understand about therapists, they are not coaches. They are not going to tell you what to do. Their job is to help you figure it out, which is fine, right? That's fine, except I think most of us don't understand that. And we expect that a therapist is going to be more like a coach, that they're going to say, oh, well, you've told me this, and this generally means this, and this, and you should do this, and this, right? And that's not really what they do. that's kind of unethical, right? I mean, their job is to help you process through all their years of training and experience to help you string the things together. I really wish that they would remind people of that, because I think if you knew it, you would deal with the sessions differently. Because I know there were times where I would say stuff and I'm kind of like looking like, okay, what's the reaction? And you're trying to gauge. It's like, oh, well, if I say something and they respond a certain way, then I can gauge whether it's a good idea, bad idea, or whatever. And that's not really, what they're supposed to do. And it makes it really tough. But I just wanted to throw that out there because that's an important thing to know. But bottom line is, you got to find a solution. You got to find something that works for you, right? I mean, look at what I've done. Take a look at it, and if it seems like it might be useful, give it a go. Give it a try. If you haven't tried it, do that. I tried, but it didn't work for me. Was the EMDR? What is that? It's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's basically a psychotherapy treatment that was designed to alleviate the distress associated with traumatic memories. Jesus, we have a ton of traumatic memories. Like our whole thing is a traumatic memory. But in the end, for me, the EMDR, and I know I've mentioned this before, it was too much. It was not something I was able to deal with at the time. I was under too much distress, which is weird because that's what it's supposed to resolve. But it was like too much of letting the floodgates come in, and I was not ready for that. So what I ended up doing, and I know I've talked about this in the past, but I started trying hypnosis. I actually looked for a hypnotherapist in my local area, which I wasn't able to find one. So I just found some hypnosis files online, which actually seemed to really work for me. If you're interested in checking those out, you can go to my website, www.dadsurvivingdivorce.com/hypnosis. Or if that doesn't work, just go to the website, look for resources, and they're listed in there. And that started to help. Now, the key on that, let me just throw this out here, is you have to listen to them a lot, like at least daily. I was listening to them multiple times a day, but you don't expect that it's going to be a one and done type thing. You're going to have to add it into your daily process or your routine to get you on track with that. And I started seeing results with everything that I was doing within, basically a month. It started to kind of take effect. It might have even been a little faster, but you need to add it into your routine so that you can, start to see results. And that's the reality, right? I mean, it's like after a while, I did start to see those gradual improvements. And Jesus, they were freaking gradual, slight in the beginning, and it was really hard to see. Part of my problem back then is I just wanted to go faster, and nothing with this is fast. You need to accept that. You need to embrace that. And honestly, going fast means you're not really working on the issues. You're not healing from them. And it increases your chance of either repeating this or ending right back in the pit of despair, which you definitely don't want to be there. You want to get over this. You want to heal from this, and you want to be able to move on. So bottom line, take your time. Work through those emotions. Refine your process along the way. And if something's not working, try something else. Like I mentioned earlier, I tried EMDR. It didn't work for me. And I don't know, maybe if I would have pushed through it, it would have. I still feel like there's a lot of promise with EMDR, but it didn't, it wasn't right for me. And bottom line is you're going to have to tailor your own process yourself to help you get to where you want to go. And that's okay. I mean, that's okay that this takes time. Embrace it, right? It's part of the journey. You see memes every once in a while where, it's like, well, it's not just getting to the destination, it's going through the process to realize you deserve the destination. And I think that's true in our situation. Now, typically I see those memes like, I want the big house, but I mean, I think it pertains to our situations. It pertains in a way that you have to go through this journey to heal from this, to make your peace with it, and ultimately to be able to let go. And I mean, one of the other things I wanted to mention on this is that you're not alone in this. I remember back in the early parts of this. Oh my God, I felt alone. I felt like my world was in shambles, and nobody could understand just how bad my situation was, because it was different. And the reality is, our situations are so similar. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, same-sex couple. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's like these people, these toxic people, follow the same playbook. They do the same thing. They do the same tactics. They do the smears. They try to destroy you. They try to gaslight you. They try to do everything in their power to emotionally manipulate and control you. And whenever they lose that, they try to destroy your credibility so that anything you say to try to defend yourself won't be believed, because they will have, assassinated your character long before you come around to say something. And I mean, so reality is kind of painful on this at times, but what I would just say is that this can seem like an impossible task. This can seem that getting to the other side of this is, there's no way. It's like the damage is too great. And I get it, because I felt the exact same way. I felt that there was no way that I was going to be able to recover from this. There was no way I would ever even consider letting go. How dare I even consider, just walking away from that pain and anger, because I needed to live that, and I needed to find ways to make her pay, to make the person who's done this to us pay. The problem with that thought process and that approach is it keeps you trapped. It keeps you stuck, connected to them, unable to move on, and you can't have a better life. You can't hold on to that and dig your way to a better place. It's like an anchor. And the really crazy part is it's an anchor that we think is strapped to us. That it's like, oh my God, it's this ball that's just, bolted to us, that's been welded to our leg, and there's no way to get free of it. And the reality is, we're just holding on to it. At any point, we can let it go. But it's like that fear-based thing that it's like you don't want to let it go. You don't want to let go of that anchor and break free from this. It took me 4 years, if I remember correctly, to be able to get to that point. It takes time to do it. It doesn't happen overnight. But, I just wanted to hit this, and I wanted to just chat with you guys for a moment about this, because I know a lot of people, I can see it in the comments. I see it in emails and in the comments. There are some people who have broken free from this and are getting away, or they're starting to realize, wow, I can just let this chain go, and it's my choice. And I think when you get to that point, when you start to realize that it's your choice and that you can do that, even if you're not ready to do it today, it can be like, oh, okay, I can see this process. I see where I'm heading. Anyways, bottom line is, you're not alone on this. Seek help. If you, if a therapist sounds like something that would be helpful for you to try it. If you do need a coach, and you can schedule time with me, you can just go over to the website dadsfamilydivorce.com/coaching. We could book some time, and I can try to help you work through this. But just know that you're not going to be stuck in this forever. This is not going to be something that you're going to spend the next 3 decades stuck with. Now, the only caveat is if you decide that's what you want to do, you can. But if you decide that that's not where you want to go, and if you decide you want to try to improve your life, and you take active steps to do that, you will actually get there.